Hello, namaste, and good evening. This is Somnath Gimire, and today my talk will focus on my reflection on translation theories and praxis. This video presentation is prepared as a part of assignment of a university course, translation studies. So let's move ahead. Uh, mm, the video presentation will cover the followings. First, I'll be talking about I'll be talking on my perception of translation before and after taking this translation course. Then I'll move to talk about some theoretical insights, and particularly those theoretical insights that help shaping my understanding and knowledge of translation. So while dealing with these theoretical insights and understanding and knowledge of translation, I will be also talking about the kind of workshop and assignment experiences of this translation course I actually had through the courses. So after doing this, I'll be also talking about the kind of joys and the kind of challenges as a student, and also as a new experience of translating different kind of texts, such as literary texts, legal texts, and economic texts. I actually had a lot of joys and the kind of challenges, and then I'll be talking about my observation of translation in terms of its significance in academia and professional context. Then I will conclude the video. So my perception of translation, before I actually took this course, I used to think translation as a product in a sense. The work of translation is producing a text into a target language from source text, means but transforming a source text into a target language text. This is what I used to think as more focused on the translation as a product. But actually, while I was taking this course, and while I was doing some workshops and assignments throughout the courses of translation, I came to certain knowledge that translation is more than a product. It is actually more a process than a product, because while transforming a particular text of the source language into the text of targeted language, and into the targeted language, a translator and the work of translation actually entail a lot of endeavors that actually demands a kind of Herculean task. So transforming the kind of linguistic signification of a source text into the linguistic signification and linguistic codes of uh, um, codes of target language um, was actually a kind of demanding task. So while doing some of the workshops and translation works throughout the course, actually we had a translation of a poem and some of the economic text as well as legal text. Throughout the translation of these texts, I actually had difficulties finding equivalent terminologies, phrases, and also maintaining syntactic structures of source tags into the target language. So not only that, translation also, I came to understand that translation also involves the transformation and transposition of a social, cultural, psychological, and ideological, as well as historical perspective of a writer of the source text. So, for a translator to locate uh, all the social different and diverse social, cultural, psychological, and political nuances of the writer of a particular maybe society, maybe country, into the language of a different society, a different country, or different nations, really demands a kind of endeavors that a translator basically goes through. So for translator, making a choice of equivalent terminologies, and making a choice for syntactic element, and also making a choice for the kind of phrases and syntactic structures to retain the meaning of the original text into the target language text. Is a kind of a very long process. So actually translation, in my perception after taking the course, uh, views as translation is more than a product. This is actually about a Herculean process. My understanding about translation, after taking the course, while taking the course actually, and while translating some of the text, shaped my understanding that translation is not only a product. This actually focuses on the process, how a translator translates the words and lexicons, and also syntactic elements, and also nuances, maybe psychological nuances of the writer into target language. While I was taking the course, I actually had a lot of opportunities to go through the views and opinions and theoretical insights of many theorists and scholars. Among them, I actually had a lot of ideas about Holmes, Snellhorny, Newmark, Grossman, Schleiermacher, Binet, Dorment, Jacobson, Nida, Monday, among other scholars. Actually, all of these scholars have different kind of agendas for translation. So, based on and varied on their agenda for translation, so their theories focuses on different kind of aspects. So, even after focusing on different kind of aspects, these scholars and theories, they have opened up a lot of possibilities for a translator. Means a lot of possibilities for the phenomena of translation. So there are always the challenges to maintain interlingual and intercultural creative agency that a translator has, and that the process of translation has. The work of translation and the agency of translator should always maintain the kind of gap, and should always fill the kind of gap, and be able to connect the kind of fragments that human voices across space and time, across societies and cultures. Yeah, so this is a kind of a very pleasing as well as a daunting task for translator, and the process of translation to retain the meaning of different societies, different cultures, and different voices for different times and different spaces. So among them, I actually was more fascinated by the ideas of Friedrich Schleiermacher, Schleiermacher's views on the method of translation, when he talks about the kind of method about foreignization and domestication as as method of translation. So what he actually focuses is what a translator can do is either the translator leaves the author in peace, means as much as possible and moves the reader towards him, or he leaves the reader in peace as much as possible and moves the author towards him. So what actually translator and the work of translation can do is they can either can be loyal towards the source text, towards the source culture, towards the source nuances and source utterances, or they can be more loyal to the kind of understanding and the cultural view and the world view of the target language readers. So what actually can be done by the translator to make translation more powerful, according to Friedrich Schleiermacher, is a translator can actually retain the kind of translation to more closer, actually closer to source culture and source culture's noises, through basically foreignization. So this is what a translator can actually translate the kind of cultural nuances and social utterances of different times and different spaces by actually retaining its originality. So free him pronunciation can be more powerful. Um, at the same time, Lawrence, uh, Lawrence Benuthi's ideas and his criticism of regimes of domestication in translation fascinated me a lot. According to him, what actually can happen when a translator translates a particular text into a target language. What actually happens is, if a translator follows okay the kind of method of domestication, what actually can happen is the kind of cultural nuances and the kind of cultural voices or trances and social differences of societies and of different cultures and of different nations can lose its way, while making the kind of text of source text more intelligible for the readers of target language. So this can be a kind of politics. The kind of politics, and this can be a cultural politics of a translator when he or she translates a particular text of a source language into a target language. So my insights from the translation experience actually depend on the kind of the transformation of words, that translation is actually a kind of communication between societies and between people and between human voices. So what can a translator do, and what actually can translation do is it can transform the linguistic codes, not only linguistic codes, they can at the same time retain the creative faculties of themselves. It means a translator can retain the creative faculties, faculties of himself or herself, to show his or her creative signification for establishing a kind of connection among societies, nations, and the voices of different cultures. So actually translation, through my experience, when I translated a poem, it was really difficult to locate the kind of equivalent terminologies, the kind of equivalent syntactic elements. But to find out equivalent terminologies and maintaining the spirit of source text are, are actually not an easy task. So a translator means the work of translation needs the kind of ability to make the right choices at the time, to sometime a translation needs to translate word to word, and sometimes a translator should understand a sense to sense translation. So what actually demands in the situation a uh, translation, or a translator should be able to switch these codes according to situations. So there are certain challenges and ways of being a translator. Actually, ways of being a translator is we actually can explore the kind of subjectivities and consciousness of a writer, one who has written the text of the source text. Basically, we can just enter the subjectivities and consciousness of the writer, and we can see the world from his or her perspective, and being somebody else at the same time, and understanding their consciousness of the world, and their cultures, maybe about societies, maybe about any kind of phenomena in the world, and being able to translate them into the target language, is a really a joyful task. So this involves the kind of poetics and politics of a translator, and also about the kind of poetics and politics of target language, translated text into the target language. So also there are certain challenges while translating, and a translator faces a huge challenges to maintain semantic parameters of text through locating the kind of equivalent terminologies, and also cultural idioms, and the kind of syntactic elements, while transforming source text into target language. This is always challenging to locate textual codes that can actually retain the original meaning into the target language, into the target language. So a translator faces a lot of challenges of on transferability, because language do have differences, and they are incongruent to each other. So retaining the original meaning and keeping the same kind of meaning of a particular text of a particular language into a target language is always a Herculean task. So to retain the cultural nuances across time and space is always a challenging task for translator. So my observation of translation relating to academia and profession is that recent development of translation as a separate disciplines, and its history is is as long as the human civilization, because from the very beginning of human societies, people needed to communicate between societies, between nations. So there was always the act of interpretation, and there was always the act of translation, to make people understand each other. So in this situation, there has been a kind of boundaries, also in different disciplines. So the kind of translation in different disciplines, and the kind of interpretation into different disciplines, like as disciplines emerged throughout the history, demanded the kind of translation. Translation is much necessary for harmonious give and take, and for harmonious functionalities of art and science in different disciplines, and also for the communication between and among societies. So, in closing, I'd like to info that translation, the kind of translation as a phenomena, has a lot more responsibilities, and translator as an agent for this phenomena has got a lot of responsibilities at a time while the whole world is becoming a village, and people need to communicate with each other in different situations across different time and spaces. So translation, and also the translator has got a lot more responsibilities, and lot more opportunities, and lot more opportunities for their profession, and also as the societies are emerging, as the societies are developing through digitalism of human affairs, maybe mundane to sublime affairs, and lot of creation of semiotic resources have been there. And in this context, the work of translating and the work of translator are emerging as a rich field for global communication. Thank you.